Now you talk about when's the best time to make a water hole, when's the best time to make a mock scrape, and really what we're trying to do in any stand location that we have water holes at a mock scrape. So water hole time is more May for me. You know, right now we're scouting. This is the first time in this, there's not been snow here for maybe 5-6 days. It's crazy how fast it's already dried up. But I want to talk about this complete picture here of why we're putting in a mock scrape and a water hole early here in this location, and why I think that's an advantage. You know, I talk about the time to put a mock scrape in is anytime. You can put it in any time of the year, but I really like when we can put a mock scrape in a location. If you look right out towards the Ranger right out here, Dylan, I think this is the first one we put on the entire property.
Oh yeah.
About 3 years ago, this time. And we do that because we knew this was a good area and we want to take buck inventory during the summer. But it wasn't necessarily in a good buck cruising area. And we needed to be back a little bit further here. We're about 30 to 40 yards back from that original mock scrape. It's actually still hanging. We'll take that out here pretty quick. But I wanted to get a mock scrape in early so we can see an inventory of bucks that are using this during the summertime, and that'll ultimately let us know how good the stand location is going to do later in the year just by putting a camera on it. And oh, by the way, we want to put a water hole here. So this is a great location for that. Springtime is going to be a huge advantage. And we'll talk about the complete picture. This is a bench system over here that steps down. You see, you know, back in the day, that's why we don't have really any big oaks right up here up to the end. We have some probably 40-year-old popple, because at that time they farmed all the way back to this point right here. So this is that first terrace outside of the woods. There's actually a terrace right by the edge of the woods, and then there's one back here. Both have since grown over because they probably fought it for a long time. They're farming up there, and with deep tillage and plowing, disking, then all that soil is eroding downhill there. So eventually they keep pushing back up where they're farming, and then we get this huge pocket of early successional growth here. Well, there's a ravine over there, a ravine over there. So what that does is it concentrates deer movement so that a lot of these trails go up to that ravine and cross, and then they cross over here. Well, they have an upper crossing and a lower crossing. So I wanted to be in this area in between where they cross right there, and they come into this area. That crossing over there is a giant elm there. So we cut the elm so it'd fall towards the field on the uphill side of the crossing, and then cut a bunch of timber on the downhill side. So it really brushes up that area, defines that crossing, gets sunlight into the area. And then over here we've done the same thing where I've cut timber, let it fall down the ravine so it pinches it up. That's closer to a food plot over there. I'd say that food plot's about 150 yards that way. And then we have a really big food plot over this way, about 150 to 200 yards. This one over here, we're going to expand it a little bit this year. It might end up being a half acre, 2/3 of an acre. That one over there is about 2 acres. So we're right in between here, and we're a good distance. So that equals a lot of great cruising. But there's also a good bedding area. We wanted to enhance it. So starting with the elm tree, cut over here and getting a lot of sunlight in, removing that canopy. Then we've stagger cut all the way around this rim until we get down in here where we had a pocket of aspen that we could attack for full regeneration, grouse, deer browse, deer cover, 7,000 shoots per acre. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a lot going on with this food plot and many more. I can't wait to plant this. Check out what we're planting on WHS Wildlife Blends. All 12 of our blends are out. You can order bulk seed, buckwheat, and rye. Check it out. We have a new website. Click on seed on the whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. It'll take you right to the new blend site. Appreciate you for checking it out and taking the time to watch us. So we're attacking trees like elms, big hickories, some ugly oaks, pockets of aspen. Kind of use your imagination, but what we're trying to do with those cuttings, it would do us no good to go back in here and create a few hinge cuts and not get sunlight into it. So what we're trying to do with these bedding area cuttings around these series of benches. This is almost a first bench here, but deer aren't bedding here because we're 50 yards away from the field edge. We want deer to bed right in there though. So we've staggered those cuttings all the way around, and you can see there's not a lot of timber and canopy right now with the leaves off. A great time to film something like this where you can see a lot of sunlight. Once we get down there and we start cutting holes, you can see a big hole over there. There's a big hole down here. You can see a hole over there. We let that sunlight in so that only 30, 40 yards from here, we're getting lots of browse and regeneration. It's a series of benches that staggers all the way down to the bottom. And we even cut close to the bottom. There's a bottom trail down there, logging trail. It's about probably 200 yards from here. And we went down so low, Joel, that's been helping me cut out here lately, he went down there so low that almost dropped some trees on that trail. It's that close. So we stagger cut those all over this bedding hillside and point. It's a kind of a broad point area, and that leads us up to here. So there's a lot of rhyme and reason. We have crossings over here that we've tried to enhance. We already have a major deer trail right here. We're 50, 60 yards off the edge. We're between big food sources, so we can get in here in the morning and not spook deer. A lot of times a spot like this, we're coming in a post daybreak stand entrance where we come in 20 minutes after daylight. We're coming straight to this wood line and climbing into a stand location. Stand location, believe it or not, was the hardest part. Would you say so, Dylan? It's like we had a lot of deliberation on what's the best tree because there's not really good trees. And we'll talk about that in a second. But bottom line is, great spot for a mock scrape because we're gonna have a stand location. And then also, great spot for a water hole. We're actually moving a water hole from right over there. It was a 100-gallon tank. A little bit too small for what we like and narrow. We're changing that to a 300-gallon tank, and that will go right here. So literally, mock scrape right here that we just installed. Put the water hole here. So that edge of that water hole, that 300-gallon tank, I would say would be about 10, 12 feet away from the mock scrape. And a real cool thing is then we can take that camera, we'll put a reveal. I actually was gonna grab one and I forgot to on the way out here, but we'll put a reveal right here. It's a perfect angle where it shines down. We'll get the scrape and the water hole right at the same time and everything that comes through here. So really good combination of everything going on here. There's a purpose with the pinch points, bedding area, our access through a thick edge. We have switchgrass all the way along this outside edge. They're bedding over by the food sources of doe family groups. Bucks are bedding down in these benches in between. We're away from doe family groups so we can get back in here. We don't want to come into a staging area. So just all around a good spot to have this. And like I said, the stand location is the worst part. We're using about a 40-year-old popple back here, and it has a good top on it. We have another one to the side that would be decent to use. We have one right here that's starting to break at the top on the other side. But bottom line is, I looked at that and I told Dylan, I mean, great spot for one of our family tradition ladder stands, but then also at least 10 years of life into that, especially when we're not putting spikes in it. We're not cutting much. As Dylan said, it's a good spot for a camera stand up there too. So this is an area we've really liked. You can see where we have a stand right now, one of the family tradition hangers, and it's leaning over to the left. When you're sitting up there, it's kind of cockeyed. In that case right there, the platform's going down. I actually moved it. I sat in it. I've sat in it a few times. Dylan and I even sat up in there. And Dylan, how was the camera stand?
Brutal.
It was one of the worst ones, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah.
So I took that stand. I came in here in the morning sit, and I actually got so fed up with it. I actually climbed down on the ladder, was able to be attached on the lifeline, and then just moved it over 180 degrees to the other side of the tree. But this can be a lot better setup. I have a tendency to not look at popple because they're a junk tree. They are short-lived, but we have some good diameter up there, and Dylan said, why not stick it in a popple over there? That'd probably be the best one. And I said, you know what? Yeah, that's probably the best one. Probably should have just not discounted that right off the bat and put that in. So I want to set this up early though, because we're going to put a camera on this. We'll get this set up. That water hole will be installed sometime in May, which is a good time. If we're going to put that water hole in, might as well put that in. We already have a ladder stand that we're going to pull and put over here. And so it'll be that complete setup. And you know, Dylan, I think Dylan was pretty excited about this spot. I can tell when he's excited or not. And I know we're really excited. We're already excited about this spot to begin with. So perfect time to get a mock scrape in. And I'll tell you a little bit about these mock scrapes. You know, we have over 50 mock scrape videos. I talk about them all the time. And in the comments below, people still say, what are you using for the hanging vine? Why are you using a vertical vine? I want this vine hanging down. We actually took it from another spot that was in place for about 3 years. Those deer rub their preorbital glands on this. Because this is only waist high for me, then fawns can actually rub their preorbital glands on this. Does can rub it on here, and then bucks will hit it. It's right in the middle of the trail. The trail literally comes down. Dylan's standing on the trail. I always put the mock scrape on the trail, water hole off the trail. So deer can just keep going through. They don't even have to go to the mock scrape or the water hole if they don't want to. Once we get this water hole cleared out, then we'll throw our Green Max Traffic Blend on it. It's a mix of grasses, a little bit of clover, a little bit of bird's foot trefoil. We'll hold the soil. So this make a little green area right here, not a food source, but we'll hold the soil. I'm putting this mock scrape right here. We're using a 3/4 inch to 1 inch diameter vine. See that in this case, it's about 2 feet from the branch. Now, if we set this up normally, I'd make this branch, it's about 5 feet. This vine about 5 feet. I'd probably make it 7. We'd bring out a ladder or pull the ATV under here and tie it about 6 inches from this apple tree right here, this branch. In this case, we're bringing it over from another spot. It worked. Dylan's a little taller than me, so he was able to get it up there and lasso it, and we're hanging it right there. So 3/4 inch to 1 inch vine. We would go a little bit longer, but I like when a branch is hanging this low. I think it looks fairly natural. You can imagine the opposite of natural is just a stick like this hanging right here on a rope. That's not natural. Vertical allows a lot more deer to contribute to the scent that's accumulated on here. If this was a horizontal branch over there at chest high, does and fawns don't typically go over there and smell it or do anything with it. It'd just be for bucks, deer in the rut. And the scrape itself isn't that important. I want the more deer that leave their scent on this, the better. You don't want to use rope. Rope is unnatural. Some bucks would avoid it or not use it at all. And I like one licking branch. You know, we could put with this branch up here, we could put 3 or 4 licking branches over an area right here. I only want one branch that accumulates all scent. Every deer that comes through here, they're not going to go from branch to branch to branch typically and leave scent. Maybe one buck does if he gets angry and he's just leaving a lot of scent in this location, being aggressive. But typically they hit it and they move on. In this case, hit it, take a drink and move on, take a drink, hit it and move on. The bottom line, what we see in something like this is deer will hit this mock scrape year round. They'll hit the water hole, especially during the rut. They'll hit it during November, December when it's melted. They love hitting water at that time. If they happen to be open in January, February, which seems unfathomable this year with all the snow we still have, it's March 27th and our whole north-facing slope over there has a foot of snow on it. We're about 3 weeks, we're gonna be about 3 to 4 weeks behind this year compared to last year. The bottom line is they hit this year round. And so we're putting it more in a year-round movement back here than it is up there in that field edge. We're adding the water hole. It's springtime. You can see the whole lay of the land, pick our tree stands better. And I hope you guys are enjoying the spring out there. You know, we're shooting this on March 27th. Dylan and I both talked about when we came out to film this morning, just the amount of birds in the air, the sounds, the scent. It felt like turkey season. It really did. We're just waiting for a gobble. Didn't hear one. I actually saw some strutters on the camera in Wisconsin. One of the reveals had some good strutters, 3 of them yesterday morning with a flock of hens. So it's that time of year, and it's certainly a great time to get a mock scrape and a water hole planned out, stay in location, everything's set for right now. So when it comes to hunting season, we can't wait to bring you this setup and a lot more because there's so much we've gotten done on the property this year. And a lot of things we've done just in the last little bit have worked to enhance this area just in the last several months. We expect this to contribute this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we shoot a monster out of this year. This is something that takes years to develop when you put those pieces into place just in a few month time frame, and we'll bring it to you this fall. Now, I don't know if you've checked out our main website lately, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, but we've really had a lot going on, including hats, books, our web class, and certainly our new seed company, WHS Wildlife Blends. When you click on seed on our site, it'll take you right to our brand new site for the seed company. We have all 12 blends available. So check it all out though. I encourage you, I appreciate you checking it out. Whether you buy anything or not, really appreciate you visiting the site and seeing what's going on, and continue to watch because we have big things coming later this year.